Cover the partial pearls? Oh, yeah. We're good? But what if I don't want to start? He said, you can go. But I'm nervous. So many people in the room. Okay. See, children, it's okay. Boker Tov. Awesome. Now, I'm noticing something. We started at the same time for the scripture readings, and not as many people showed up. But children are going to be performing, and everybody's here. From now on, we're going to have the children perform at the beginning of the scripture reading. It seems to attract more people. Okay. And quite frankly, I can't blame you. All right, well, welcome to the last day here. We're going to have, it's Shabbat, of course. Shabbat Shalom. And we've been here for the days of Unleavened Bread, Chag HaMatzot. Of course, we begin with Passover. And so, a lot of you are familiar maybe on the live stream with the fact that, we started an organization or whatever, a community called Messianic Torah Observant Israel, YMTOI. And a big part of YMTOI, of course, is the idea that we're trying to give you the tools as we strive to go from where we are to the kingdom. And the thing that came up very quickly that we knew we needed was a way to address the younger of the group of Torah Observant Israelites. We call them YMTOI, Young Messianic Torah Observant Israelites. And so our youth, it's very important for us that our youth go through a program where they can learn to engage with the material that we engage with as adults, the Torah stuff, at their level. And so I've been very blessed to be married to my wife now for 20 years, who has the same heart for you children that I have for the adults. Actually, I've got the heart for all of them, so does she, but her focus with the children, and so she has even been putting together programs when we didn't even have our own children for the children. And so what a blessing and what a tremendous opportunity to serve in that capacity that we have. And so this week, especially for those that are live that maybe think about coming to Sukkot and you want to know what's going on at these events that we host, well, during that week, we have the children in classes. How many classes did you have? How many slots did you end up with? No, I mean, during the week, how many sessions did they have? They had like 9 classes, or 9 times during the 8 or 9 days where they had the children with them, spending a few hours learning about a particular thing, and when they come up here, they'll explain what they learned this time. And so, I mean, and children, do you enjoy the program? They're still asleep. Okay. And so the children get to come and enjoy the program. I had a parent come to me one year saying, "What are you guys doing in that class?" I said, "Why?" I said, "My son woke up this morning and said, 'Mom, hurry up, I have to get to class.'" He never does that at school. They really do love the program. And they get to spend time in the Word, but they also get to spend time with each other. And they get to do a lot of fun things. And so I'm going to introduce the director of the program, who's going to explain all that your children have been doing all week. And for those of you on the live stream to understand, if you ever were to come, what your children could experience as well. So here's the director of the YMTOI program, my wife, the Rebbitzin, Julie.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for saying Rebbitzin. Nice. Okay, so this year we were studying the 7 things Yahweh hates. Officially in Proverbs 6:16 through 19, it says these are the 6 matters that Yahweh hates, and the 7th is an abomination. But no matter what, Yahweh really hates these things. And if he hates them, I believe the children should be taught that we need to not do the things that he hates. So I thought this is really a cool and important lesson for them. So my idea is every feast to choose a lesson that the children can take home with them and work on it in their lives, just like my husband does with the adults. When he teaches, his purpose is to get you to do the things that Yahweh hates so that we can all be in his kingdom. And the same thing for the children. They're not too young to know that there are things that, just like at home, the parents expect from them and that the parents like and dislike. The children need to know that about Yahweh. And I think that sometimes they do a better job at it than we do as adults. So when we design the lessons, each class, because we have children at different ages, we design it for their level. We try to. So we have teachers for the 5 to 8-year-olds, and we design lessons that engage them at their level, which is more visual, hands-on, story form, games, things that they can engage at and not necessarily have to read it. They can see it, they can hear it. For the next level, we've designed lessons that are what they're used to at school, which are workbooks, fill in the blanks, also things that involve hands-on, touching it, seeing it, smelling it, tasting it. And then as well for the Gadol, teenagers just like to hang out and talk and talk and talk. And so at their level, we've designed lessons where they get to participate more and they get to engage in the Word by talking about it with their teachers and asking questions at their level that they might not feel comfortable asking about when they're face-to-face with Rabbi or in a setting where there's a bunch of adults. So that's our purpose at YMTOI, is that we design lessons that engage everyone from 5 to 99. So the Katan A and B classes, which are the 5 to 12-year-olds, had things that were lessons, snacks, games, object lessons, and even songs to reinforce what they're learning for each matter that Yahweh hates. And we were blessed this year and every year to have Miss Shira write the songs for the children. Because I don't know about you, but in this walk it's really hard to find music that is appropriate for your children. A lot of us grew up in Christianity, and those songs were written for Christians. And since we have a different mindset, I believe that we need songs that promote that mindset. And we're so blessed at MTOI to have Miss Shira write the songs for the YMTOI. So I just want to acknowledge her. And at this time, I want to give special recognition to a few other people who really have dug in and helped out every day. These are my activities coordinators. Uncle Bob, who foresees all of the YMTOI activities, right there. Can you please stand up? I really want... Okay, we're going to have a little fun right now. I want everybody to stand up when I call out something you've done at this feast. Okay, so Ms. Shira, you're first. You stand up because you wrote the songs. Uncle Bob. Okay, and then for the Katan A and B, we had Mr. and Mrs. Vickery, Austin and Bailey. If you're here, stand up. There they are. Thank you. And some people wore 2 hats. This is my medical team. If you can stand up, please acknowledge them. Uncle Bob, you're part of that. And all the rest of you who helped out this week. And anyone who helped out during a class, any of the helpers, any of the parents, can you please stand up? If you had any part, whether it was the snacks, if you were in class time, see how many people helped this week. It's just awesome. I really appreciate all of you. I mean, truly from the bottom of my heart, as the body grows, we need to work together to serve the body, right? So I really saw that this feast. I just saw people step up and just ask, where can I help? Even from the first day. People have never met us said, I don't want to sit back and just be an observer at this feast. I want to be a part of it. And right, we're supposed to be part of a body. So if we can all work together, I think people are going to have their eyes on us and we're going to be a light unto the nations. Okay. I don't know if you are not aware of this, but I also have designed a curriculum for the children that's called Parsha Pearls. Do any of you use that? If you do, raise your hands. Okay. Is there anybody here who hasn't heard of Parsha Pearls and you have children? Okay. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about that because we have material that you can use at home to engage your children in the Word. You know, every week there's a Torah portion, and we have designed lessons to help you if you want to use it throughout the week, or if you have a congregation and you just want to use it on Shabbat. And this program was started because parents came to me and said, boy, it's really hard to find material for my children. You know, I can find things that are Jewish, and that's kind of like half the picture, right? And there's Christian stuff. Well, I don't want to be in that picture anymore, so I don't want to use Christian stuff. And there's not very many people doing things that combine the Tanakh as well as the Brit Hadashah. And I thought, you know what? If I'm not going to do it, who's going to do it? So I said, I'm going to step up, and I'm not going to just do things for Beth Shalom. Let's provide something for the entire body that they can use at home and make ourselves available to, you know, if anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. But my friend and also my partner in crime, Stephanie Meyer, came alongside me and made this vision a possibility. So come on up. Okay. I just want to acknowledge her especially because she's been with me from the first feast that we were together. She stepped up alongside me and supported me in thoughts and encouraged me to make those thoughts a reality. So thank you so much. And I have to have her up here because she's my support. Yeah, so I just want to talk a little bit about Parsha Pearls. Parsha Pearls, I guess you have a cover right there. Yep. So, you know, in Matthew it describes that Yahweh's word is like a precious pearl, that when you find it, you hold on to it tightly. And so that's why we said the Parshas have pearls in them, and we need to know about them. So for the children that are Katan A, 5 to 8, we have created story formats with little characters that you can put up on felt boards, or that you can just have as, do you have some? Oh. You're just amazing. I knew she would. So, for any of you kids who are in Beth Shalom, do you know who this man is? Moshe, thank you. Good job. For Katane, we also have mazes. We have crossword puzzles. We have word searches. We have a song. Every parsha has a song that goes with it. We have a snack. Anything else for Katane?
The story, the mazes, no.
No, we got it all.
Yeah, the word searches, in their first year, we did word searches for them.
And we did word searches, yeah. So, you know, like I said, you can do this every day at home. You can do one thing for your child and, you know, build upon it. There's a craft. And then for Katan B, which are the 9 to 12-year-olds, but even I've had adults tell me that they enjoy using Parsha Pearls. You know, I get emails saying how they've learned a lot from it, and adults love doing the word searches. I mean, I have 21 words that are hard to find. So if you're an adult and you have some free time and you say, you know what, I'm going to just pull up a word search and do that, I bet you it'll take you a while to find those words. So for Katan Bet, we have the word searches. We also have mazes that are at their level. We have fill in the blanks. We have coloring pages. And our coloring pages are designed by people who work in the body to create them. We don't take coloring pages from other groups, and they really go with the word. We try to be as true to the word as possible and have coloring pages that go with the parsha. And I don't know about you, but those are really hard to find. When I used to have to find them, even on Jewish websites, and like, I don't see how that goes with the parsha, but okay, we'll use it as a coloring page. And so it's really cool now that we actually get to have coloring pages that go with the parshas. And the men have tzitzit on them. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Okay.
There are some parshas where they lend themselves to like special pages, so you'll find that there are some times when we do special matching, things like the 10 plagues was one that we did an easy matching. And then when she did the tabernacle and the garments of the tabernacle, there are some beautiful worksheets that give some real good detail of the priestly garments, of the elements of the tabernacle, and there are a lot of, we try to do specialty worksheets when it lends itself to it, so lots of really good material in there.
Oh yeah, like the offerings, how that's really tough stuff and boring. You'll find that our pages are very interactive, and even the adults will learn a lot about them. Yeah, thank you. So you're probably asking, well, where can you find Parsha Pearls? So I'm going to let Stephanie, we were talking about last night, what's your title besides my facilitator, organizer, my right hand, my right brain, but she also makes everything pretty for me, including the website stuff. So I'm going to let her talk about this now.
So on the MTOI website, you will find a link to YMTOI. And when you get there are 2 different years. So you'll find that there's a year 1 and a year 2. And year 1 was our inaugural year. It's the year that we just started launching things. And it has kind of a mix of Katan A and B. When we hit year 2, you'll see we also posted year 1 because it's based on that material from year 1. And year 2 is when we started the little gem story for the Katan A's. And we tried to add in maybe a few more games, and that's where the mazes came in. And we tried to just give a little bit of expansion so that if you were doing the same year over, you had a little bit of new material. Coming up here in the future, we have lots of plans for what we would like to do. And we're going to be continuing to work on getting more out to you because there are some parshas, for instance, Bereshit. Right now, you'll have the creation story, but in that parsha is also contained the garden and the Cain and Abel story, all of which are very important stories to tell for the children. And so we do have plans to be writing materials for those, and we're hoping to launch some new material coming this fall right after Sukkot, but that's going to be dependent on a couple of factors, so please don't be incredibly disappointed if something doesn't come together, but we're working really diligently. We've been working all year to start some new drawings and new materials for the next year. I think one of the things we even added to last year's materials is we're doing a little more with Hebrew. So although Maura Julie, Rabitzin Julie, whichever role she wants to play today, she has already taught them the Hebrew words. We're now actually putting in the Hebrew characters and things like that so they can practice the writing of the words. And so, thank you. I'm so glad you're going to enjoy that. But that's one that we've created, and we need approval on whether I've done it correctly or not. So, so I wouldn't want to put out something incorrect. So I need to get time with Rabbi to get that all approved. But we've worked on starting to create things like that. So we're trying to come up with new materials. Remember that we do have the parshapearls@gmail.com account. That if you have any feedback or suggestions, you can send us an email. We've tried to listen to what you're looking for, and we're doing our best to accommodate those kind of things. So, and just remember that in the first year also, Rabitzin did a digging deeper section, which is really geared towards the Gadol. So even though they're primarily focused at the younger age brackets, we did try to put in a section of digging deeper that if you go over the portion, it gives some questions for thought, things to talk about, and maybe good things to talk about as a family, because some of the questions she put out there, we don't put answers, we just put out questions for you to talk about, and maybe do some deeper digging even into Rabbi's teachings that may help to answer some of those questions. And the other thing, I mentioned this the other day to the children, but as you read through a Torah portion, the Torah sometimes is not always G-rated, if you will. There's a lot of stuff in the Torah. We opt to teach things that are that don't go into some of those topics. And so we leave that for you to do at home. So it is certainly part of the Torah portion, but don't expect to see us teaching on something that really should be taught in the home. But if you do have questions about how to teach that, I said that email. It's parshapearls@gmail.com. You are
At mtoi.com.
Oh, at MTOI. I'm sorry. It's parshapearls@mtoi.org then. I apologize. That was an old email, I think.
Yes, it was.
But if you email the questions, Rebitz and Julie would be happy to get answers to you about her suggestions and Rabbi's suggestions about how to teach that material. But we're probably not putting out something for general use. We just feel that that's something that needs to be done at home. So I just want to make sure that's kind of clear. Okay.
All right. All right, we're ready to move on to the
Yes,
next
we
one.
are. So we're going to have Rebitz and Joanne come up, and she's going to talk to us about the snacks that we did for this year.
Shabbat Shalom. Well, first I would like to thank all of the parents for allowing me to serve your children. That was so much joy for me. I'm getting choked up. Okay, well, I realize that every child has their own way of learning. So what I do with the snacks is I try to teach your children the same lesson that they've been taught in their studies, like their Torah study. When they go through the lessons, they'll read and explain, and then they have songs, they have crafts, they learn different ways. Well, my part is to teach them through food. So you have to be creative to do that, because it takes a lot of concentration how to figure this theme out. So this is what I've done this week to your children. Okay, the first snack we had was a proud look. So I made the lion, because a lion is always known to be proud. The way they walk, the way they hold their head forward, that's why they're called the king of the jungle. So I worked with that, and so for the first plate is over on this side is the oranges. The middle is a pineapple, and then I put oranges around for the mane, and then it has its little nose there. And it has blueberries for eyes, and then the lips are olives, and then it has its little whiskers, which is celery. And and that's for the sweet, and for the savory, I did hummus. And those are olives, and I believe that's an orange, and then those are little olive pieces, and then that's carrots going around there. So that's what I did with the proud. Now for the lying tongue. Okay, for the lying tongue, I did an apple, and the main part is the tongue. It's got its red hot tongue sticking out, which is a strawberry. And then that was for the sweet, and for the savory, I did the celery with the cherries, because I just wanted to create the tongue. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi. I was doing this. So I mainly wanted to stick with the red because red always, when people see red, they always think of danger or they think of something spicy or something on that order. So I wanted to kind of stick with the tongue being red. And those are like snakes. So that's what I did for that one. And now going on to the next one, hands that shed innocent blood. Okay, well, those are prep gloves. And we put popcorn in. At the bottom, they have like a little M&M for fingernails. And we stuck popcorn in there, and getting them down them fingers was not fun. I blew out a couple of those, squishing it like that. Pop, there it went. Okay, start over. All right, and then for the blood, I used strawberry syrup, and we put that in, and then we kind of smushed it so it looked like it had blood on its hands. And so that was the savory and the sweet. So, okay, going on to the next one, the heart devising wicked schemes. That's not the heart.
Is there a next one? Nope.
Okay, it got left out. Okay, well, I'll just explain what I did. I made, at first we were going to do Jell-O, but Jell-O doesn't work out that well. Once you take it out of the pan, it kind of melts. So I got this idea, and so I talked to Rebbitz and Julie, and I said, hey, in the middle of the night, I woke up thinking about fudge. And I was thinking if I make fudge and cut that out, you would have a dark heart, because somebody that does devising wicked schemes would have to have a dark heart and very little light, if any. So I used fudge. I made fudge, and I cut out hearts out of the fudge. And then we made little hearts out of cheese and carrots for that snack. Okay, now the next one is feet quick to run to evil. Okay, well, I got the banana, and you see the little kiwi up there is actually the kiwi. We took a foot cookie cutter, and cut out feet. And then we put the footprint on the bananas. So that's what we did for that snack. And for a false witness breathing out lies, I think I frustrated the two top teachers because I was constantly changing my snacks. And I go in the morning and I go, hey, I changed this. Today for your snack, you're getting this instead of this. And they're like, oh. So my mind's always going when I get in that creative mood. It just keeps going. So what I did is I did the Eggman, or I call him Egghead. I boiled an egg, and I deviled it, and I put the stuff back inside and squished it so all of the lies would come out of it. It's like oozing out lies. And I did that with the marshmallows also. That's marshmallow cream. Okay. Bugs. Where are my bugs? Oh, there it is. All right. Next one. One who causes strife among the brethren. Well, so Miss Stephanie came up with this one, but I thought it was pretty clever. So we made all these little bugs, and then when you see the oranges are the birds, and they're giving their brothers a lot of strife, trying to catch them for breakfast. So,
It struck my funny bone, I'm sorry.
so that there are the snacks that I have made this week for your children. Thank you. I would also like to thank my helpers, because boy, if I went ahead of them, I'd have been going in the kitchen at 4 a.m. So I would like to thank Randy, Chantel, Leanne, Sue, Amy, and Betty. Thank you.
Okay, so next we're going to bring up Mora Sarah Beth to talk about the Catan A class and what they did for the week.
Good morning. I want to follow Ribbits and Joanne's example and thank you all for the awesome privilege of teaching your children. It has been quite the experience. I am so happy to have that privilege, and thank you to my leadership for the opportunity as well. I'm going to try to be brief because I know we have a lot of people that all want to share what they learned. And before I get into the 7 things Yahweh hates, I think my favorite craft of all that Ribbits and Julie gave me to do this week was the counting the Omer, and getting to watch the children count the Omer every day in our classroom, and they got to keep track of it and know exactly what it was. It was amazing. And that is also, remember, after today, please come see me and get your children's folders, and they will have their craft for counting the Omer to go home and continue all the way for those 49 days. So I'm looking really forward to taking mine home and doing the same, because of course I couldn't be left out. I had to make one for myself. All right, so the craft that we got to make, the first one, was a proud look. And the story scene is Moshe being approached by Miriam and Aharon, and they took a really proud look, and Yahweh having a say about how they behaved. And I was so impressed that first day. We were talking about vocabulary, and like I asked, okay, so what does humble mean? You have to understand what this means before I teach you you're supposed to be it. And nobody had the definition I was looking for. They just skipped right to Moshe. And I'm like, you're the 5 to 8 year olds. Wow. And I'm like, okay, what's an abomination? And they're like, some little 5-year-old, a 5-year-old says pig. I'm like just blown away. All right, then for lying tongue, we went with the positive opportunity where they saved a life by lying. So it's not just Yahweh hates a lying tongue, but how many times can you find in Scripture where Yahweh blessed someone for saving a life? So you've got Pharaoh and the midwives. And then for hands shedding innocent blood, went with Moshe's life. So all of these are surrounding Moshe's story. And at some point in this, I don't remember which day it was, but we're passing out crowns, and everybody's in a hurry to get their crown, and we're just like, patience, come on. And like, of course, anytime I can get a chance to mention a previous lesson, I do. So I'm like, okay, anybody remember what's patience a fruit of? And like silence, my whole class. I'm like, really? But the little 5-year-old, in the silence, all the 8-year-olds let him talk. In the silence, little Levi pipes up fruit of the Spirit. And we all know Levi. He's just so cute. But I'm not sure he was listening. Now I know he was listening. It made my heart melt. So then we have, for heart devising wicked schemes, we have the story of Korah. And the really nice thing about these puppets is they are interchangeable. You can take Moshe from the first story, and he's the puppet in the last story, and they can interchange and move around, and they can go home and tell the stories in the Bible with their puppet set, which was really, really cool in my mind. But, all right, feet quick to run to evil. False witness breathing out lies. I think it was probably this day that some little girl came up to me. I think it might have been Fiona. And she's like, I remember movie night. Joseph, that was a lying tongue what his brothers did. I was just like, yes, you're there getting it. I was so excited. You've got the thought bubbles. There's a giant in there somewhere. Yeah. Who knows the giant would be the one that hides? And then the abomination, the one they all lead to, strife among brothers, was Pharaoh telling them they had to go get straw to try to drive them to no longer listen to Moshe, to fight with Moshe. And that was my week. And next, you are all going to be wowed by your kids doing their memory verse and their song.
No, you guys can't see yourself right now.
Dad, what are you doing? Proverbs 6:16 through 19. These 6 matters Yahweh hates, and 7 are abomination to him: a proud look, a lying tongue, and hands shedding innocent blood, a heart devising wicked schemes, feet quick to run to evil, a false witness breathing out lies, and one who causes strife among brothers. Attention!
Okay, so now you're going to see a few memories from their week with us. Okay, you're right. I don't think they had any fun. I'm really sorry about that. We'll work harder next year. If I may, for just a second, my role a lot of times is kind of in the background to sort of help make sure all the classes have what they need, that the people are where they need to be. And many of you may know that I had just a little bit of an issue earlier in the week. And I just can't thank Betty enough for stepping in for me. So thank you. I didn't want to miss my opportunity to say that. But thank you. Thank you. So now Katan B is going to do their presentation about what they covered for the week. So yeah, Tamara, come on up.
Okay, I have two things to say. First of all, was Miss Shira teaching songs or aerobics? And the second thing I have to say is, Katan B, you've got some big shoes to fill when you come up. Then they sing awesome. Okay, attention. Okay, so Katan Bet. First of all, I want to thank all the parents for bringing your peculiar children to me. No, I'm just kidding. No, they are peculiar, right? Doesn't the word say we're peculiar? So that was for real. But they are a treasured possession, and they are set apart. And I really, really felt that this week. Their answers, their engagement with the teachers. And by the way, here is Maura Tamara, who is with me all week and stood by my side and was teaching just as much as I was, and to save my voice, that was very helpful. And Miss Stephanie, who stepped in, like she said, she directed everything. You know, as we're getting bigger and bigger, and praise Yahweh that we are, we find a need that we have more positions we need to create and fill in. And praise Yahweh that there are people that always want to serve the body. And so with that, here's my team, and I'm going to talk about what Katan Bet did this week. I'm going to try to be brief, but I'm so proud of this that, I'm going to be a little selfish maybe and talk a little longer than everyone else. But, okay, so as Morris or Beth, you did a really good job, by the way. You should just, be on TV and speak. You did a fine job. So we also, in Katan Bet, did an Omer count, but we had a coloring sheet, and so we colored it every day, and I didn't get to color today yet, but I will. So this is a Katan Bet, and if anybody wants any extra ones, I actually printed quite a few, so I'd be happy to give them out. It's hard to not want to color them all in, you get on a roll, and then you're, I was only supposed to color one. That's okay. Okay, so here we go. So Katan Bet had daily lessons. Each lesson had about 6 to 8 pages, and we went through that every day. And the lessons had scriptures, they had fill in the blanks, there was a lot of circling, underlining, so it was more like a classroom style, and with a lot of engagement also with the students, and we had a lot of amazing responses from the children. On the first day, we had an introduction. We taught about what we're about to teach about, and it's the 7 things that Yahweh hates, and we talked about love and hate. Why does Yahweh hate certain things? And if he hates certain things, we know he must certainly love certain things. And I think we need to focus on that as well. And so we put that in our lesson. And we also, when we were speaking about the 7 things Yahweh hates, we realized that all these things are connected to our body parts. And we should be in control of our body parts so we don't do the things that Yahweh hates, right? And these are all things that our actions, attitudes, behaviors, and we taught the children that it's not that Yahweh hates the person, it's that he hates those actions. So we are in control of our actions, and so we're the only ones that can fix it or create the problem. So we taught them that Yahweh hates evil, unrighteousness, and sin, but he loves the opposite of evil, which is good, and the opposite of unrighteousness is righteousness, and the opposite of sin is Torah. Because when you keep Torah, you don't transgress the law, so you're not sinning. But when you're sinning, you're transgressing the Torah. We talked about looking at ourselves only and not about looking at everyone else, Just worry about yourself. Look in the mirror and look at yourself and see where you need to work harder. At Pesach, the adults are taught to look in the mirror and every year to inspect yourself and see if you've grown in an area. And the children can do that as well, right? Not just physically, but they can do that as well with their maturity, their mental maturity, their physical maturity as well. We always try to tie in other lessons. MTOI is a family, so we are not like a standalone lesson. We bring in other feasts. We've taught the Beatitudes, so we tied in the Beatitudes. We tied in the fruit of the Spirit. We tied in the armor of Elohim, because everything in the Bible is connected to each other, just like our body parts. So we try to bring those connections back to the children. And it was amazing how many children raised their hands when I said, how many of you have been with us 3 feasts, 4 feasts, There's a few kids here who, not in Katan Bet, but in Gadol, who have been here every single feast. How many kids have been here with MTOI for every single feast? Raise your hands. Yeah. Okay, so basically my kids and the shepherd kids, but that's all right. But that says a lot right there. So, and we talked last about on the first day that it's all about your attitude, right? Are you having a me attitude, a B attitude, a Yahweh attitude, or a Hasatan attitude, which is what we don't want. Okay, the first thing we learned about was a proud look. In a proud look, we taught them a Hebrew word. We defined what pride is. And so by knowing what it is, then you can avoid it. We had looked at stories of those who walked in pride, like the Pharisee. We talked about Nebuchadnezzar and his son Belshazzar, who walked in pride big time, right? And had their kingdoms taken away from them. We talked about Pharaoh, he said, "Who is Yahweh that I should obey him?" And he found out pretty quickly who Yahweh was. We looked at Korah, who definitely walked in pride. He wasn't satisfied with his position and just wanted to have a position that Yahweh hadn't approved. And we also asked the children, who is the first being to walk in pride? And who is it, children? Hasatan, yes. All right? And it's no wonder that Yahweh hates that, because he was the first being to do the things that Yahweh hates. We talked about how pride affects your whole body. And we talked about how humility, which is the opposite, and how Katane rightly knew that Moshe was known as the most humble man, that humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself. It's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference. And then we always had a slogan at the end of our day, and we read it out loud together. And the first one was, because Yahweh loves humility, he hates a proud look. Okay, so we taught the opposite of what you want to do and what you don't want to do. We played a really fun game, and you're going to see it on the slideshow. We did a game called Umbrella Tag, where you had the ability to be under the safety of an umbrella. And if you don't get under the umbrella, you will definitely be tagged. And there are those who can walk in pride and never want to go under the safety of Yahweh. And so we taught the children about the fact that you can't run to that safety. That's okay. You don't have to work it all out on your own. Okay, moving on to the second one, a lying tongue. In the lying tongue, we had Hebrew words to know. We again asked the question, who was the first being ever to have a lying tongue? Who was it, children? Hasatan, right? In Genesis 3, he falsely told them that they would not die if they ate from the tree. So he had a lying tongue. He knew the truth, but he chose not to share it. We talked about the son of truth versus the father of lies, and we know who's going to win. We talked about that Yahweh loves those who speak the truth. And we talked about the difference between bearing false witness, lying, and a lying tongue, as we showed in the Katane craft. There were those who lied to save lives, and Yahweh looked upon those people favorably, right? And so there is a difference, but I always ended it with, ask your parents if something is right or wrong. You know, every parent determines what is correct and what is not correct for their child. Okay, we talked about, we ended, again, the day with a slogan, because Yahweh is truth, he hates a lying tongue. And we played a fun game called the button game. We didn't have a button, so we used our little foam pieces. It looked like a button, and it was a game to figure out who was lying, and you'll see that in the slideshow. All right, moving on to number 3, hands shedding innocent blood. Again, we had Hebrew word to know. We said that Yeshua had innocent blood. We taught about Yeshua. He was a very good example of someone that had innocent blood who his life was shed, right? He didn't do anything wrong. We defined definitions of what is innocent. What does shed blood mean? We talked about the difference between murder and kill. What's the difference? The 6th commandment tells us do not murder. That's lo tirtak, versus do not kill, which is lo taharog. And we taught the difference between the two. We talked about when you hate your brother, it's pretty much like murder, how our words can cut like a knife. I can hurt you by my words that cut you, right? And, you know, we've all experienced that. And we also asked the question, which is the first story in the scriptures that show hand shedding innocent blood? You guys remember? What's the first story? Go ahead. You can say it. Katan Bet. Cain and Abel. Yes. Right. We shared stories, for example, like King Saul trying to kill David, and you'll see that in their notebook page. We talked about the verses where Israel and Judah constantly did hands that shed innocent blood, and that we should not follow the example of those forefathers, that we should not repeat history that way, and that because that's why they were taken into slavery, and that's why we're dispersed now, because we did the things that Yahweh hates. And because Yahweh created all life, we said he hates hands that shed innocent blood. And then the 4th thing we looked at was a heart devising wicked schemes. In a heart devising wicked schemes, we had a Hebrew word to know. We talked about the fact that Rabbi Steve teaches our heart is where our feelings and our thoughts come together, and this leads to our actions. Most of our actions are based on the emotions we feel in our heart, that our thoughts and our feelings create our actions, whether with our hands or our feet or in our mouth. We talked about who was the first being to devise wicked schemes. Who was that, children? Hasatan, right? Right? Because when he was up in the heavenlies, he said, let me go against the Most High, right? So his heart was devising wicked schemes. And we used that opportunity to tie in, Rabbi Steve's teachings about the heart of the matter, that it's all about the heart. It's what's in your heart and what is it thinking. We talked about is, what are you thinking? And for every section, we always use at least 2 to 3 verses to reinforce what that thought was, because the scripture says that you need to have 2 or 3 witnesses. So I always try to at least have 2 to 3 verses in every section to back it up. Okay. We said, don't even think about it. So don't think about doing wrong things. As a man thinks, so he is in his heart. We talked about that. Again, we talked about Yeshua, who was the greatest example of people having a heart that devises wicked schemes. And we talked about Joseph and how his brothers devised plans against him. And you can't even imagine a brother doing that to another sibling, but that happens all the time. Even in the body, brothers are doing that to each other. We talked about the heart that we want is like Yeshua. We brought out 3 points that Yeshua's heart was obedient. He said that I and my Father are one. We talked about that his heart was peaceful. He is the Prince of Peace. We talked about how his heart is pure or clean. And we said because Yahweh loves a pure heart, he hates a heart that devises wicked schemes. And we played a game called the Ultimate Cup Game, and you'll see that on the slideshow as well. And then the 5th one was feet quick to run to evil. In feet quick to run to evil, we had Hebrew words. We talked about what is evil. And the children knew that answer right away, especially the children who watch live stream. They were like, anything that is against what Yahweh wants. You know, they've heard Rabbi Steve talking about it, right? So the children are listening. Again, we talked about stories, for example. I believe that stories are a good way to reinforce something. So we talked about Yeshua and how they were quick to run to evil and how they came at night and got him. They didn't do it in the daytime. They couldn't even wait for daylight, right? We again talked about Joseph's brothers who did that. We talked about people who have a mob mentality, you know, like once person starts something, everybody follows to do it. So he said, do you want to follow the mob or do you want to be like Yeshua? They have the mind of Yeshua. We talked about how we should use our feet to do good and bring peace. There are a lot of verses about the good news of peace with our feet. And we said, because Yahweh is peace, he hates feet that run to evil. And then we played a really cool game. This was a fun game. I think Moray Wayne came up with this. It was called Quick to Pop. And we tied balloons around all the children's feet. And you were supposed to run around and stomp each other's balloon. And it was really cool, as you'll actually see a picture of this. And I didn't give any children any instructions of how you can avoid having your balloon popped. But I believe it was Zion sat on his balloon and covered it and protected it. And so he wasn't quick to run to evil. He just sat there and was like, I'm going to protect that balloon as much as I can, until the kids came and pulled him off of it. All right, and then moving on. Number 6 is a false witness breathing out lies. Again, we had a Hebrew word to know. We asked the children again, who is the first person to ever do this action? Who is the... Yeah. And that, again, happened in the garden. We taught them the phrase Lashon Hara, which is the evil tongue. When the scriptures talks about a false witness breathing out lies, that's what it's talking about, is Lashon Hara. We taught the children that when you make a derogatory comment, even if it's true about someone else, this is a great example of this. You shouldn't be doing that. We taught them, watch what you say. And be sure to taste your words before you spit them out of your mouth. We told them to examine their tongues and their heart, because what comes out of your heart is what defiles you, right? Again, we gave stories for our example. We talked about King Ahaz and Queen Jezebel and how she had gotten false witnesses to say things against Naboth. And so they killed him, and then her husband did get the vineyard. A very sad thing. We talked about how one thing leads to another. Things are all connected, just like our body parts are connected. We talked about what are some false things you know about that you've been taught in the past. And the children shouted out Christmas and Easter, the typical things. And I was really glad that we could talk about that and that they could feel like they could talk about it, because for a lot of kids who go to public school, they can't talk about these things and say how it feels to be different, to be set apart. And we talked about how blessed are you when men say things about you, because, you will receive the kingdom for that. And then, because Yahweh is truth and he hates a false witness, because he is truth, he hates a false witness who breathes out lies. Okay, and then we had Miss Stephanie come in and she gave us an awesome object lesson on that. We had little Lego people, and we showed, do you want to talk about that? You didn't expect that, did you?
No, I didn't. What we did is we did it like a science experiment, if you will. Took some baking soda and vinegar and put some green food coloring in it. And so we talked to them about the fact that this is going to give a visual to what your words would be like. So if your words were to hit other people, what would happen if you were speaking? And so you'll see it in the slideshow. If you see the green ooze, that would be the false witness breathing out lies, and how many people that it might affect when you're letting those things come out of your mouth.
All right, thanks. And then we played a game called Integrity. We gave each child a balloon. By the way, I found out there are 3 things that kids really like are balloons, bubbles, and what's the other? A ball. Okay, so anything that starts with a B, balloons, ball, and bubbles, okay? And you can just make them happy for hours. So we gave each student a balloon, and the challenge of the game was to keep your balloon up in the air without it hitting someone. You also were given additional challenges, which is not to speak to each other or not to make eye contact. And so we were trying to figure out their integrity. Did they follow the rules, or did they lie about it? Did they try to hide what was going on? And so the kids really enjoyed that one. You'll see pictures about that too.
What was also interesting about that is as we were going, I was facilitating some of that game at one point, and I wouldn't let the kids really talk about much, and I stopped them, and I was like, oh, you're talking, you're down, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. And we talked about the fact, I stopped them, and I said, okay, does Yahweh negotiate his rules? Like, are they negotiable? Do we get to get up there and go, oh, I don't feel like doing this one, or can I really do this but not that? And so that's kind of what was happening in the game. It gave us a great opportunity to talk about a lot of things that relate to the lesson, and then also just to the reason we're here for the feast and our walk. It was very good.
Amen. Okay, and so then the 7th one is one who causes strife among the brethren. And, I think this one hits for everyone, for children as well as adults. I mean, children can cause strife among each other. Adults definitely can cause strife among each other. And sadly, even in the body, we cause strife among each other. But I know we're working on it. I know that MTOI is really working. Our motto is working together to serve the body, and that's what we need to focus on more than on things that really don't matter, And so we want to teach the kids that so that they don't follow our examples. So the 7th thing that Yahweh, he actually calls us an abomination. And we talked about what does an abomination means. It's like really more than hatred, And a lot of people think, oh, Yahweh is love and he doesn't hate anything. But it's more that he's taken a position against us. We taught them that. It's against his nature. So his position against it is so strong. So we should not want to do that. Like with your parents, if your parents have a strong position on something, would you want to do anything to disappoint them? No, right? Because your children love your parents and you want to please them, right? So, again, we asked the children, who is the first instigator of causing strife? That's right, you got that right. Right. We told the children, be a peacemaker, not a strife instigator. We talked about how what are we doing? Are we sowing seeds of discord or fruit of one accord? Seeds of discord never bear fruit of one accord. We talked about how if you plant a certain tree, you're not going to get a different type. If you plant apple seeds, you're not going to get a pear tree, right? So if you're sowing seeds of discord, you're definitely not going to get harmony. So what are we doing, children? What are we thinking? We talked about smooth words. There are people who can have smooth words and flatter you and butter you up, but they're still causing strife just because the way they say it, right? So don't fall for that. We talked about stories, and one of the stories we covered was Korah, how he really caused strife among the brethren. And first of all, 250 people died, and then 14,000 more died in the plague. So just from a few people causing problems, it ended up with thousands of people dying. And so it is in the body. Like what's that saying? One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. It's really true. We also talked about mirror, mirror on the wall. Look at yourself. Don't worry about other people. Look at yourself. And we ended with the verse that we have up here. Psalm 133:1. See how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. So that's the opposite of the seventh thing that Yahweh hates. We played a real cool game, and you saw some of that with Katane, the hula hoop pass, where you had to join hands in a circle, and you passed the hula hoop around to every kid until you got to the first kid. And it was about working together to accomplish this task and do it without having strife with each other, And there were a couple of times the kids were yelling at each other, but, the other ones settled them down, so I was glad to see that. And so that's kind of the week we had. And then our last lesson we called the conclusion of the matter, right? In Ecclesiastes, it says, here's the conclusion of the matter. So this is what we want the kids to take home with them. We said that the 7 things that Yahweh hates is a very sobering list, okay? It's sobering because we need to think on it. We need not to forget it. You guys have been here with us 8-9 days, but I want you to take this home with you and remember it and ponder on it and seek to be better for next year, okay? And we should look at the mirror daily and ask ourselves this question: is our look haughty? Do we have a lying tongue? What about our hands and feet? What do they hurry to do? Is our heart and mind reflecting the thoughts of Yahweh? Do we strive for peace with our friends, with our family? Or do we sow seeds of discord? And we said that the 7 things that Yahweh hates are looks, words, thoughts, attitudes, actions, and behaviors that are directed to another person intended to cause harm or damage. So it's the second greatest commandment is how we treat each other, and that's why Yahweh hates these things. He doesn't want us to treat each other poorly. So in that, let us hear the conclusion of the matter. Hate the 7 things Yahweh hates. Do the 8 Beatitudes. Grow in the 9 aspects of the fruit of the Spirit, and put on the whole armor of Elohim. And then the Apostle Peter tells us to be sober. Remember I said this is a sobering list. Be sober, watch, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. And because we love Yahweh, children, we should hate the 7 things he hates.
Amen. Come on. Okay, so Tamara is going to walk us through the notebook that the Katan bees did for the week.
Shabbat Shalom. Hello, I am More Tamara, and I am so thankful that Julie trusted me with your children. And to just to sum it up, I just want to let you know that I've been a teacher before. I've taught in the public school system, and sometimes I get a little overconfident, thinking, well, I've done this before. I can do this, And then it was watching the master. It's like watching something and your eyes are opened, your ears are open, and then I'm humbled by the way that she teaches. I'm humbled by the way that they respond to her. And then all of a sudden, I just want that. I'm like, I want them to look at me that way because they respect her so much. And I'm so grateful that they do. Not that they don't respect me. I'm just saying that she has this wonderful way of just teaching and presenting things to them, and they really listen. I know they were listening because when she would ask them questions, and they would a lot of times quote Rabbi, everyone's hand was like, quick to pop up in the air and want to answer the questions. So that was wonderful. So Stephanie's going to help me present our art lat book. The children were able to not only learn and read about, our lesson, but we were able to put it into a book so that they could take home and reflect on it. So we started with, obviously, every one of them started with a title so that they would always remember. And this one is A Proud Look, and we used the example of King Nebuchadnezzar. And so when you flip him over, there's the examples in the words written of what he was, haughty and proud and mean. And then below, we gave them the examples, as Julie was saying, Rebs and Julie was saying, to take the position of being meek, humble, and righteous. And we always had a Bible verse on all of these pages, and allowing them to read it and then to write it down will help them to commit it to memory. So that was the goal for us. We used the Hebrew word ayin and ruam. So ayin means I, and ruam means proud and haughty. So they see the Hebrew word, and then if they don't remember, they can just flip this and then remember what the English word is. And at the bottom was a catchphrase that we used to remind them of what position they should take in situations, because Yahweh loves humility. He hates a proud look. So that's our first day. Our next lesson was a lion tongue. And we used an example of what the original serpent looked like. So they thought it was a dragon, and a couple of them, which was kind of cute, so they were learning. Again, scriptures, we had a couple of them. And then for this day, it was Lashon, which means tongue. Our position for this lesson was, because Yahweh is truth, he hates a lion tongue. Okay, so this one was a fun day. Yes. And we used Shaul and David, so King Shaul, and how first I should probably tell you that it was hands shedding innocent blood. So we created this spear, and so they will be able to shoot it toward David. But notice it doesn't hit him, so, he was under Yahweh's protection. So, we also wanted them to know, because a couple of them, they're like, wait a minute, it's not hitting him. I'm like, yeah, I know. So our words for the day was yod, which means hand. Lo tetzak. Okay, sorry, so I got tongue-tied. Don't murder. And lo taharog, which means don't kill. And one thing that I feel that most of them learned was the difference between murder and kill. And we discussed how murder is something that you do intentionally with hate and malicious, intent to someone else. But there were times in the Bible or the scriptures that Yahweh said, kill them. So our position on this was, because Yahweh created all life, he hates hands that shed innocent blood. We're using a couple of books. We just wanted to demonstrate this using a couple of different arts. Okay, on this day, it was a heart devising wicked schemes. They got to color their profile and add their hearts from Proverbs. Yeah, and it was the heart and the head. Thank you, Stephanie. So on this day, we were reminded that because Yahweh loves a pure heart, he hates a heart that devises wicked schemes. And we learned the Hebrew term lev, which means heart. Okay, so on this particular day, feet quick to run to evil. We use the story of Joseph and his brothers and how their jealousy and their pride led to throwing him into the well. So we have Joseph, who is up here, and then he's down in the pit. So that was kind of cute. I think I've kind of pulled it all the way out. Okay, we'll just hang on to it. Okay, so on this day we had regal, which means feet, and our position was, because Yahweh is peace, he hates feet that are quick to run to evil. I thought this was neat. Stephanie helped create, I think, most of this or all of it. Well, yeah, pretty much. So she came up with this idea. These are lips. And so we have bubbles. You know how you, in cartoon, the comics, you have the bubbles of what they're saying. So this bubble has praise and then all of the positive things. And then down here is the negative, cursing, and, words that would fall under that category. I'll read the verse. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so out of the same mouth. Oh, which one? This one? This one. Okay, forgive me. Okay, so out of the same mouth comes praise and cursing. This should not be. And this is found in James 3:10. So praise and cursing. Yeah, the praise and the cursing. I forgot to tell you the title. It was the false witness breathing out lies. We learned 2 Hebrew words this day, peh, which is mouth, and lashon hara, which is evil tongue. We also encourage them to take the position that because Yahweh is truth, he hates false witnesses breathing out lies. So this, we used 2 sides to portray this, and it is the one who causes strife among brothers. So we had one man sowing bad seeds, and then the positive on the right side, sowing mustard seeds. We had this tree. We wanted to kind of represent how it would not grow. It would not produce fruit. And I really love that creative style here. And we have words on here that is an example of what does not help produce good fruit. And then, of course, we have the opposite on the other side. And because Yahweh loves unity, he hates one who causes strife among brothers. And then the final day, the conclusion, Rebbe and Julie really wanted, as she mentioned before, to remind them of not just today, but tie in a few other feasts. She used the Ephesians 6:10 through 18. So now let us hear sorry. So I was reading the conclusion. Sorry. Hate the 7 things Yahweh hates. That's in Proverbs. And do the 8 Beatitudes in Matthew. Grow in 9 aspects of the fruit of the Spirit. And in Galatians, it's put on the whole armor of Elohim. And that is found in the Ephesians. So, and then they put a mirror on here. So these things you should be in the mirror. You should look and examine yourself daily if you are using these. Are you honoring the scriptures and what Yahweh intends for you and his instructions? Because we love Yahweh, we hate the 7 things he hates. So, and now you're going to get to hear them sing.
Are they not awesome? I mean, I know you love your own kids, but look at them in a group and what they can accomplish. It's amazing. Amazing. Okay, so next we're going to have Maura Wayne and Maura Michael come up and share what happened with the Gadol. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. She's like, hey, we worked so hard. Sorry. Rewind. Now we're going to have a slideshow of what all of Catan B did. So as I've never said before, next we're going to have Maura Wayne and Maura Michael come up and talk about what they did in the Gadol A class.
Rabbi, I'm glad you're standing right here. Because first of all,
I didn't do it.
yes, you did, sir. With Moray, Wayne, and myself being green at teaching teenagers, you trusted us to do this. And we just want to thank you, first of all.
You're very welcome. Of course, I didn't trust you to set up the mic, though. No.
I don't trust myself for that either. I'm going to ask this time for the Kadol A class to stand up. Turn around so the cameras can see you. Okay, this way. I'm sorry. There you go. Smile, you're on candid camera. You guys have been a joy, and for this age group, it's probably the hardest age group, not only in the secular system, but also in this spiritual setting as well, because you want to do the things the kids do, but you want to be a teenager. And so we had to recognize our first goal was to let you to internalize the lesson, to get you interactive with it, to connect, to internalize with it. And as we got feedback that you enjoyed and that you're learning, we just wanted to let you know that you rock just as much.
Man, I don't know how to follow that.
I'm speaking for both of us.
Boker Tov, I am Kylie from Channel 7 News.
And I am Katie. We interrupt this special program to bring you a special report.
This just in, from Proverbs 6, we found out that there are 6 things Yahweh hates and 7 are abominations.
We want to take you live now. It's Black Mountain, North Carolina at the Blue Ridge Assembly, where we have a reporter on the scene to give us an exclusive interview with some of the YMTOI Gadol class to give us an outlook on these characteristic traits that our loving Father calls an abomination.
First, we're going to look at a proud look. Over to you, Heidi.
Boker Tov, Katie, and Kylie. I'm here with one of the students from the Gadol class to give an exclusive on this matter. They are just learning what the 7 things that are abomination to Yahweh. Hello, young lady. What's your name?
I'm Brianna.
Nice to meet you, Brianna. And what have you been learning?
I've been learning a proud look.
What are the traits of a proud look?
The traits of a proud look is someone conceited or being full of themselves and having a mindset of Hasatan.
Can you give a Bible example, please?
Sure. When Nebuchadnezzar didn't give Elohim the credit for his kingdom, to humble him, he took it away and made him a beast of the land.
Why is that an abomination to Yahweh?
It's an abomination because he hates the proud and loves the humble. There's an idiom that goes, pride comes before a fall. And in the Bible, it states that the proud shall stumble and fall with no one to raise him up. And he also hates those who judge others because the only true judge is our Heavenly Father.
How does that relate to us today?
It relates to us today when we look at someone a little different than us and try to put ourselves above them and have suppressing demeanor and humiliate them just to cater to our pride.
Thank you, Brianna, for answering my questions. Now back to you, Katie and Kylie.
Thank you. Now we're going to look at a lying tongue.
Thank you, Katie and Kylie. I'm here with Nick, and we're going to be talking about a different kind of matter. What kind of matter have you been learning, Nick?
I've been learning about a lying tongue.
What are the traits of a lying tongue?
The traits of a lying tongue are lying to deceive someone, lying to hurt someone, lying to get your way, and just not speaking the truth in general.
Would you mind giving me a Bible example, please?
A biblical example is when Hasatan lied to Eve about the fruit that Yahweh said not to eat.
Why is that an abomination to Yahweh?
It's an abomination because he is the truth, and when we're lying, we're not speaking the truth.
How does that relate to us today?
It relates to us because many of us lie for a lot of different reasons, but we're supposed to show integrity and speak the truth.
Thank you, Nick, for your time. Back to you, Katie and Kylie.
Thanks. Now we're looking at hands shedding innocent blood.
I'm here with Wesley to talk about another matter that he's been learning. What matter have you been learning, Wesley?
Hand shedding innocent blood.
What are the traits of hands shedding innocent blood?
The emotional and physical. The emotional is hurting somebody with your words. The physical is murdering someone.
Can you give me a Bible example, please?
Cain and Abel, because Cain was jealous of his brothers because Yahweh took Abel's offering and not Cain's, and it led to his thoughts and then his hands, and he murdered Abel.
Can you tell me why that's an abomination?
Because it is against his commands and it's wrong.
How does that relate to us today?
when you're talking, you need to be sure that you're not hurting somebody with your words, and be sure not to bully someone physically.
Thank you, Wesley, for your time. Back to you, Katie and Kylie.
And now we're going to look at hard devising wicked schemes.
Thank you, Katie and Kylie. I'm here with Zoe to talk about a different matter. Zoe, what matter have you been learning?
I've been learning about a heart that devises wicked schemes.
What are the traits of this matter?
Some traits are mentioned in Isaiah 59, 7-8. They have feet that run quick to evil, hurry to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of wickedness, and they do not know peace.
Can you give me a Bible example, please?
A Bible reference is Daniel 6, 10-16. When Daniel knew the writing was signed, and he knelt down 3 times a day and prayed to Yahweh and gave thanks to him, as he had done before, then the men gathered together and planned to get him thrown into the lion's den.
How is that an abomination to Yahweh?
It's an abomination to Yahweh because Yahweh hates a heart that devises wicked schemes and loves a pure of heart.
How does that relate to us today?
It can relate to us today through bullying, through lying to cover sin, and plotting revenge.
Thank you, Zoe, for answering my questions. Back to you, Katie and Kylie.
Thanks. Now, be quick to run to evil.
I'm here with Greenlee to discuss another matter. Greenlee, what matter have you been learning about?
I've been learning about feet quick to run to evil.
What are the traits of that matter?
The traits of that matter are pride, arrogance, and a perverse mouth.
Can you please give a Bible example?
A Bible example is in Exodus when Moses goes up to the mountain with God. The children of Israel were so quick to ask Aaron for an idol that they didn't trust in God.
Why is that an abomination to Yahweh?
That's an abomination to Yahweh because if you're quick to run to evil, you're not quick to run to Torah, and Torah is the truth.
How does that relate to us today?
That relates to us today because the way of the world makes us fear the physical instead of fearing Yahweh, and we're fearing our insignificant troubles.
Thank you, Greenlee. Back to you, Katie and Kylie.
Thank you. Now we're going to look at a false witness bring out lies.
I'm here with Vlad to talk about a different matter. Vlad, what are you going to tell me about?
A false witness.
What are the traits of a false witness?
Mainly a lying tongue.
Can you give me a Bible example?
Yeah, King Ahab, when Jezebel went and planned so that false witnesses can go against Nathan and tell a lie about him, which would be a false witness.
Why is that an abomination to Yahweh?
Because Yahweh is truth, and he hates when false witnesses tell lies.
How does that relate to us today?
So when someone doesn't like us or we don't like them, and they do something, or we do something that they don't like, and the higher authority asks us what they did, we can tell a lie, and that will make us be a false witness.
Thank you, Vlad, for your time. Back to you, Katie and Kylie.
Thanks. And last but not least, one who causes strife among brothers.
Thank you, Katie and Kylie. I'm here with Evelyn to talk about a different matter. Evelyn, what matter have you been learning?
I've been learning about one who causes strife among others.
What are the traits of this matter?
The traits of this matter are bitterness and anger.
Can you give me a Bible example, please?
A Bible example for this is from Genesis 37:18, where it talks about how Joseph's brothers were envious of him, and they plotted against him to kill him.
Why is that an abomination to Yahweh?
It's an abomination to Yahweh because strife among others contains many of the things that Yahweh hates.
How does that relate to us today?
It relates to us today because it shows that people can go behind your back and plot against you.
Thank you, Evelyn, for your time. Back to you, Katie and Kylie. Are they fighting? At the camera!
And on to the weather.
How do you follow that, Rabbi said? First and foremost, for that, we want to thank Mr. Daniel Hatt for everything he did in that. So our objective in class was to not only give them verses and have feedback from them, is that we wanted to find out how they can apply it in their lives today. And that's mostly what we want to focus on. And everything here that they said in their scripts was what they put everything together and how they can relate it today in the scriptures and everything that Yahweh hates. So, anything else?
No, they just.
No.
You guys really surprised us. Some of you that didn't seem like you were paying attention kind of popped up, even Titus as well as Katie. Just, they were doing their own thing in class, and we kind of gave them that space, but at the same time, when it came time to question and answer, bam, wow, where'd they come from? Brianna, Zoe, Heidi, and Wes, all of y'all just coming up with answers, and then we had our late bloomers come through with Vlad and Nick and Fowler and Evelyn, yes. And Kylie was always that middle ground, and Bryce kind of shined through. Man, Bryson, I'm sorry. We all, you guys amazed us, and we just appreciate being your mores. So.
I just want to say one more thing. This is the first time that we teamed up here to teach Gadol, and we really enjoyed it, and we couldn't ask for a much better class than what we had. I mean, you guys were awesome, and I hope to see you guys again at another feast.
Am I on? Now we're going to see the video of the week that they had as well. Okay, so we're moving right along. We got our last class, Gadol B, and Mr. David Hayes is going to come and give a little brief overview of what they did.
So where are the Gadol B's? They're mixed in and amongst all of you. I can see some of them are already serving and performing essential tasks in the body, which is what they're looking to strive to do as they develop themselves and start to try on that armor of Elohim and look for the opportunities, not only to be relied on as young adults, but also to strive to emulate all of you adults out there that are seeking and serving the body. And what we did is we stopped looking towards the model of edutainment and starting to give them the opportunity to inculcate some of these things into their own lives and let them show me through guidance what they have mastered and out of all the classes that have preceded the one that I have. So all the pavement has been laid, and I'm just helping them walk this out and helping them learn how to express it individually as they teach these things back to me. So we took the material that Rebitz and Julie prepared, which was absolutely essential because I'm so short on time. I usually don't have the time to actually put together a program. So I still, at this age group, utilize extensively the YMTOI program that she's developed, which is part of what we all get to experience here as they start to bring it home and interact with it on a daily basis and show these things that they're learning. One of the things that we did do was give them the opportunity for each one of the subject matters to break out into sessions, into groups, and then to bring back what they've gleaned from it, and then teach it back to each of the other groups. So they got the opportunity to speak and to participate in more of an interactive basis or anything, looking for the opportunity to show themselves to be more mature and reliable in the use of their time, and also to show how they've handled the material, and look for the opportunities now to inculcate this into life and demonstrate it between now and Sukkot, and then hopefully be more essential as they train up to be task-oriented, to come back and to help teach the younger groups or to perform essential functions or anything. So they're learning to try on all this and bring it to fruition into their lives. And we thank Rebitz and Julie and all the other teachers that enabled them to get to this point where I'm just kind of like putting the polish on. Well, and thank you very much, and give the kids a round of applause for all the hard work that they did.
And now we have the Gadol B presentation. There should be one more with together time. one more video with Together Time.
Awesome. Fantastic. That was just fantastic. Hold on, let me just kind of get this here. Wow. Great job, everyone. So I was going to start out by saying thank you, but I'm going to say thanks. These people are all going to wonder why they're not in your class. I mean, all I gave them was like scripture readings and group therapy. You guys had like snacks and songs and videos. We can't compete. You know what? I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. My wife and Stephanie and them are sitting down here. That was so good. Those guys did such a great job. That was so good. You know, we have, I just want to make sure that as I go on, I want to just thank everybody and just tell what a great job it was. You know, a lot of people were involved. But first I want to talk about the 7 things Rabbi loves. Torah teaching. You guys learned some Torah today, this week. Snacks. Okay. Crafts. Games. Songs. Pictures and videos. And mostly watching the children grow together. Amen? Although I think we need another week because I think you guys did the math wrong. See, it says there's 6 matters Yahweh hates and 7 are abominations. That's 13. We need another week. They're all like, yes. Well, come back to Sukkot, and we'll have another thing for you to do then. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I do want to thank everybody involved. Obviously, we had Rebbe and Joanne and the snacks. We had Shira writing some wonderful songs. Those are all her songs. And I don't know how did you fit in enough time for the children in Katan Bet to do the 64 parts of the heart of the matter. I did pay attention then when you did your presentation. That's true. If you could do Psalm 119, well, actually, Psalm 119 was only about 6 parts in the heart of the matter. But anyway, the photography and video, all you guys who took pictures, and Dan and Katie working on the video with everybody. Erica Baker taking pictures. Anybody else I need to mention? Awesome. All the teachers, especially Michael and Wayne, who are, first time up there with the children, taking that position and really doing it. And some of the assistant teachers, like Tamara, who's sort of stepped up. And, of course, Sarah Beth and Stephanie and Rebitz and Julie do a fabulous job every time. So great job. And, of course, a special thanks to Stephanie and my wife for, my wife puts together this program. She puts almost as many hours a day into this that I put into everything else. I mean, she works on this from the beginning beginning right after one feast until the next feast. And unlike me, who kind of bullet points a bunch of stuff and just wings it, she actually writes it all out, programs every detail. I think she's blue. Okay, and so it's really, but that's why it's great to have that trait, because very organized. And I really, I'm watching the videos going, did you guys have more time than we had? Because how did you do all of that? Because I'm watching the videos going, when did you have time to do all of that stuff? That's incredible. You guys are just incredible. But most importantly, I want to thank you, children. Because you know what? You showed up. Shh. See, of course, the children aren't paying attention when I'm talking about them. Hey, children, you did a great job. I'm very proud of you. Yeah. They participated. Now, we didn't have the sound system working well enough for you to hear them singing so loud, but I think the stream actually got it louder, okay? Because I listened on the headset. But the thing is, they all seemed to know the words. They all learned the songs. They knew the hand gestures and all the other stuff. It was fantastic. Awesome job. And sometimes you have to say you're wrong. So I'm going to say in front of you I was wrong because I've had issues in the past with the Gadol class doing presentations. I loved it. Okay? I loved it. As a matter of fact, okay, Gadol Bet TV is coming to YouTube near you. I think we need to do some sort of a youth program video thing, just like in that format. Would that be great? I mean, I thought, look, I don't want to pick on anybody, but I thought, Heidi, you did a fabulous job. Okay? You seemed really comfortable there and doing your reporter thing, you know, lady on the street. She said I was not comfortable. Well, you fooled everybody. She said I was not comfortable. Okay, Katie and Kylie, awesome job. And all of you who got interviewed, great jobs, okay? But I think, children, would you think that'd be fun to put on a program like that? Okay, cool. So Dan, I think we are going to have to set up a studio in the building, back home at Beth Shalom, so that we could do those things. Because we've talked about this for a long time, doing some sort of a children's program that we could post on a regular basis on like a YMTOI TV. You know, we'll just put that on there. And I think that'd be fantastic. Who wrote the script? Okay. So the children wrote the script. Fantastic job, Gadol Aleph. There's too many different moving parts here. You guys did a great job writing that script. I loved it. It was simple. It was consistent. It was right there. Boom. It was great. I loved it. And it matched kind of the format that I gave you guys for the class. Hey, what was the issue? What's it all about? Where is it in Scripture? Hey, that's great. You guys did a great job. I'm proud of you. All right, well, that's all I have to say, and I can't take any credit for any of it. What? Yes. Okay, and then I do want to thank Marty for working with the sound, the video, and all of the moving parts, the pictures. Dan also for, again, putting, you know, when you guys are, you know, socializing and going to sleep, they're still up at night putting all these things together. Because we can't put them together in advance. They're done, this was all done here and produced here. Well, you guys are either having fun or sleeping, okay? Mostly sleeping. It's done late at night. Okay, so really, all those people who stayed up to do that, great job. All right, well, that's going to close it up. The end of a very long process and a very, just a blessing to watch the videos. It looked like the children, did you have a great time, children? Awesome. Awesome. Okay, parents, bring them back to Sukkot. So they'll have all their same friends because they'll all come and they'll already have learned. Listen to what David Hayes said was so true. A lot of the children in here have been through the program now for a few feasts. They're used to it. They understand it. Actually, this is not the first time we've done the seven things Yahweh hates. Okay, it was a long time ago, so we've improved the program, and the children can understand these things. And so by the time they get to Gadol, the work is a lot easier. And the children understand the material, so that's fantastic. And then when there's the few that are new, they can join in a lot easier because most people know what they're doing. You get a room full of people that all don't know what they're doing, and it's a lot tougher. But when you can come in and kind of watch around and pick up what people are doing, you pick it up real quick. So fantastic. All right, with that, I'm going to say shalom, shalom. And we'll see you at the services at 2 o'clock. And here we're going to have lunch in about 10 minutes. All right.